Hello, beautiful people. In this video, we are finding the side lengths of our triangles using trigonometry. Let's go ahead and get started. So before we fully jump into question number 1, let's recall our SOHCAHTOA. So we have SOHCAHTOA, and this is just going to remind us what our trig ratios are, or trig functions are. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. You always want to start with what you have. So in question number 1, what we want is we want this side length. We don't have that. But what we do have is we have this angle. So when we're looking at this angle, again, remember this is our eyeball. We're trying to include both something that is given and something that we don't have. When we have something that is given, something that we don't have, then we can find the unknown measure. So if I take, what do I have here? I have opposite and I have a hypotenuse. So looking at my little cheat sheet here, I'm looking for opposite and hypotenuse, which is sine. So that means I'm going to take sine of 64 degrees, and that's going to be equal to my opposite, which is x, and my hypotenuse, which is 25. Now again, what is our objective? What is our goal? Our goal is to find the side length. This is my unknown. We're going to isolate x by multiplying by 25 both sides. This is what I want you to do. Put sine of 64 in a bubble, because sine of 64 is a ratio, okay? It is a ratio of two sides of a triangle. So it is a value. You can't just split up sine and split up 64. Like, they can't be undone. So that is a value. So you have 25 times a value. I don't know what sine of 64 is. I don't expect you to know what sine of 64 is, but I do expect my calculator to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say x, or my side length, is equal to 25 times whatever my calculator tells me sine of 64 is. Now, 64 is in degrees, so it's super important that you have your calculator mode set in degrees for us to compute this correctly. So I have sine of 64, which is a very big number. So I'm going to just round it here. Now, I'm not actually going to round in my calculator. I can just type this in just like this. So I'm going to do 25 times, I don't know if you guys can see that, 25 times, I'm going to do sine of, and make sure you have enough parentheses, 64, enter, and that gives me my side length of 22.5 meters, feet. It doesn't tell us what our units are, so we can say units. So moving on to example number 2, same thing. What do we have? What do we need? We have, this is our angle, so that means this is my eyeball. Across the street from a right angle is always our hypotenuse. So we need to include an adjacent. Again, how do we know this is adjacent? Because it's next to the angle that we have. So we have adjacent and a hypotenuse. So let's go back up to our cheat sheet. We're looking for A and H. A and H means I have a cosine. So I'm going to have cosine of my given angle, which is 30 degrees. And that's equal to adjacent, which is 18, over hypotenuse, which is x. So again, what do we want? What do we need? We need our x by itself. So you have two options here. You can take the cosine, make it into a fraction, flip it. I'm going to choose to do it this way. I'm going to multiply both sides by x. You don't have to do it this way. So that means my x goes away. What do I have? I have x times, again, I'm going to put whatever this is in a bubble, cosine of 30 degrees is equal to 18. And again, I'm going to, my objective, get x by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by this bubble of cosine of 30 degrees. Now, cosine of 30 is a value. Remember, if bubbles match, we get to cross them out. This bubble and this bubble cross out because I have multiplication. So that means I have x is equal to 18 divided by my bubble of cosine of 30. Now, what is cosine of 30? I have no idea, but my calculator does. I'm going to try to use my calculator only once. So I have 18 divided by bubble. cosine of 30 bubble, and that gives me about 20.8. And again, it doesn't give me units, so I'm going to just write units. Moving on. Two questions or two type of word problems that you're going to deal with. You're going to have an angle of elevation and you're going to have an angle of depression. Angle of elevation says if this is your eyeball, right? This is your eyeball. You're looking through the angle, and this is like the item that you want to look at. So let's say you have, oh, I don't know. Let's say you have a tree. Here's a tree, pretty little tree, right? Feel like that one painter. Here's a little tree, and let's say you're looking at the top of the tree. So this is your line of sight. If you have an angle of depression, this right here is your eyeball. This is your eyeball. So you're looking through here. Your line of sight is now the opposite, or in this case, this one here. Okay, so let's go ahead. Knowing that, let's jump into question number 1 here. The angle of elevation, so we already know that we're going to be using something that's going to look like this. The angle of elevation from a fishing boat to the top of a lighthouse is 5 degrees. So let's draw out our triangle. Always with word problems, draw out your picture. The angle of elevation, so here's your angle of elevation from the fishing boat. So here's your fishing boat all the way up to a lighthouse is 5 degrees. So here's your 5 degrees. If the top of a lighthouse is 161 feet above sea level, how far is the boat from the lighthouse? So we want this distance here. So again, start out with your eyeball. Here is your eyeball. What do we have? We have opposite. We have adjacent. SOHCAHTOA. Which one includes both the opposite and the adjacent? Tangent does. So we're going to be using tangent. So tangent of theta is equal to SOHCAHTOA. So that means I have tangent of, what's my angle? My angle is 5 degrees. Opposite is 161 feet over adjacent. That is my x feet. So it's very similar to the previous question we just did. We want to get x by itself. So I'm going to do this a different way. I'm going to choose to do this a different way just to show you that you can do this. Instead of multiplying by x both sides, I'm going to turn tangent of 5, again, always put in a bubble, into a fraction, and I'm going to flip both fractions. So I'm going to say 1 over tangent of 5 is equal to x over 161. When I do that, my variable of x is now in the numerator. I'm going to multiply by 161 both sides. So that gives me 161 divided by tangent of 5 equal to x. Using my calculator again, 161 divided by, I like parentheses, so I'm putting tangent in parentheses of 5. Make sure your calculator is set in degree mode. So they are, pretty far away. I get 1,840-ish feet away. Now, it doesn't tell us how to round. I have a 0.23 after that, so I'm going to round to the nearest foot. Moving on to question number 2, let me shift this over. An airplane is flying at an altitude of 8,900 feet over water. A pilot spots a raft in the water at 28-degree angle of depression. What is the horizontal distance from the airplane to the raft? So let's go ahead and look at our cheat sheet here real quick. So we have angle of depression, so we're going to be looking something like this. I'm just going to quickly sketch this out. So we're looking here. This is going to be our angle of depression. So where is our angle of depression? There it is. It is 28 degrees. Since we have 28 degrees, we want the horizontal distance from the airplane to the raft, which is going to be this one here. And we know that the altitude of the airplane flying is 8,900 feet. Now, just like we did before in question number 1 with our word problem, we have to identify what we have. Here's our eyeball. So that means I have an opposite and I have an adjacent. Oh, looks like we have another tangent problem. So tangent of theta is equal to SOHCAHTOA. So that means I have tangent of 28 degrees equal to my opposite, which is 8,900 divided by my x, which is my adjacent. Now, again, it is your choice either to use option number 1 or option number 2. You can make this tangent into a fraction, flip it, multiply this. Or if you want, you can just multiply by x both sides and then divide by your tangent. Now, make sure that you understand that tangent of a number, that is a value. You can't remove the tangent. You can't remove the 28 separately. So what we have here is we have x times our tangent of 28 is equal to 8,900. I'm going to divide both sides by the entire bubble of tangent. So tangent 28, both sides. Bubble divided by bubble gets bubbles reduced. So x is equal to your 8,900 over tangent of 28. Now, I don't know what that value is. I'm hoping my calculator does. Taking out my calculator, I am typing in 8,900 divided by parenthesis tangent 28. Make sure that you have your calculator set in degree mode. And that's going to equal to a pretty big number. That's going to be equaling to 16,738, about 0.5 feet. Again, this problem didn't tell us how to round, so we are rounding how we feel like it in a way. All right, beautiful people, and that is how we find side lengths for our right triangles. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!